You're listening to the TOEFL podcast number 25, Finding a Roommate. This is the TOEFL podcast, episode number 25. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff McQuillan, coming to you from the Center for Educational Development in beautiful Los Angeles, California. On this podcast, we're going to look for a roommate. We'll hear a conversation between two students. As usual, we'll listen at a slow speed, followed by some explanations of the dialogue. Then we'll listen again at a fast speed and ask a few comprehension questions. Let's get started.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Fiona. Thanks for meeting me here on such short notice. The thing is, I needed to ask you something, and I thought sooner was better than later.
No problem. It worked out that we were both on campus. What's the question?
Well, I was thinking about how we have to move out of the dorms next year.
Yeah, I know. No more dining halls. I'm just excited about getting away from that lousy food. But of course, that means I'm going to have to cook for myself. So I will probably be worse off.
Yeah. Anyway, do you know where you're going to live next year?
I hadn't really given it much thought. Why do you ask?
Well, I thought maybe you and I could share an apartment. If you don't mind moving a little further away from campus, we could probably afford to have our own rooms.
Oh, well, I don't know if I want to move far away. It would be fun to share an apartment, though, in order to split the costs.
That's what I'm thinking. Or we could find a couple more roommates in order to afford something near campus. If you could find another girl and I could find another guy to share a room with, we'd be set.
Maybe. Can I think about it and let you know?
Of course. Take your time. We have a while. I just wanted to start apartment hunting early so we could find something good.
Sounds like a plan. I'll let you know as soon as I make a decision.
We heard a dialogue between Chris and Fiona talking about finding a roommate. And a roommate, R-O-M-M-A-T-E, is someone that you live with, usually someone that you are sharing a house or an apartment with. A roommate is usually not someone who is your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife. When we say a roommate in college, we don't mean that the two people are romantically involved with each other. It's possible, but normally a roommate is just anyone that you live with. In the United States, it's still mostly the case that men live with men when they're single before they're married, and women live with women. It does happen sometimes, however, that a man and a woman might be roommates in college. They'll have probably their own bedrooms, but sleep and live in the same apartment building, or same apartment, I should say. But that does happen even though they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's not the most common situation, but it does happen in many American colleges. Well, Fiona says at the beginning of our dialogue, "Hi, Chris, how are you?" And Chris says, "Hey, Fiona, And of course, hey is an informal way of saying hello. He says, thanks for meeting me here on such short notice. On short notice, S-H-O-R-T, notice, N-O-T-I-C-E, means that I did not give you very much time before I asked you to meet with me. To do something on short notice means to do it very quickly without a lot of anticipation in terms of time, without being told ahead of time. For example, if today is Tuesday and your friend says to you, let's go to Paris, let's fly to Europe tomorrow. Well, that would be very short notice to give someone not very much time in advance of when you want them to do something. So Chris asks Fiona to meet with him on short notice. He says actually on such short notice, which is such here is just like very. It's means on very short notice. Chris says, the thing is, I needed to ask you something, and I thought sooner was better than later. That expression, the thing is when we are going to explain something to someone. We're going to give someone an explanation, and it's a phrase we use at the beginning of the explanation. Usually it's something that may be somewhat difficult to explain, or that the person may or may not want to hear. You could say, for example, to your girlfriend, the thing is, I don't love you anymore. How sad. Well, that would be a use of the thing is, but it's not always a sad thing or an unfortunate thing. It's just a way of introducing a new topic to get started on explaining something. So Chris says, the thing is, I needed to ask you something, and I thought sooner was better than later. So what he's saying is he wants to do it now and not wait more time. Fiona says, no problem. It worked out that we were both on campus. It worked out means it turned out. The situation is that we are now both on campus. When something works out, when we say something works out, we mean that it is successful in some way. Fiona asks, what's the question? And Chris says, well, I was thinking about how we have to move out of the dorms next year. To move out, 2 words, means to leave your apartment or your house and go to another apartment or house. So what time are you moving out? Means what time are you going to leave your apartment, or what day are you moving out? There was actually a song by Billy Joel, an American singer, called Movin' Out. And that's the idea that you're going to leave your house or leave your apartment and go somewhere else. The dorms, D-O-R-M-S, is short for dormitories. And dormitories are places on a university or college where students live. They're like little apartments. Sometimes the dorms have kitchens in them. Sometimes they don't have any kitchen in them. And all the students have to eat in a big area with one big kitchen. Fiona says, yeah, I know we have to move out. No more dining halls. A dining, D-I-N-I-N-G, hall, H-A-L-L, is that place where the students eat if they don't have a kitchen. A dining hall is like a big restaurant where all of the students eat. To dine, D-I-N-E, means to eat. And a hall is a word that we use for a building on a campus or a university or college campus, a hall. So you'll often hear someone say, well, where do you have your first class today? Well, I have it over in Humboldt Hall, or I have it over in Bolt Hall. I have it over in Johnson Hall. The hall is just the building, the Johnson building, the Bolt building, and so forth. It's a word we use at a university to describe a building. Fiona says that she's just excited about getting away from the lousy food. When she says I'm just excited, means that she is excited about this thing more than anything else. When someone says, I'm just happy that it didn't rain today, means of all the things I could be happy about, this is the thing I am most happy about. Usually we use that in a situation where there are things that are bad that are happening, unfortunate situation, and you trying to find something good in that situation. So Fiona says, I'm just excited about getting away from that lousy, Lousy, lousy food. Lousy is an informal way of saying bad, not very good. My wife says that I'm a lousy cook, means I'm a bad cook. That's true. You don't want to eat anything that I cook. Well, Fiona says that, of course, it means I'm going to have to cook for myself, so I will probably be worse off. To be worse, W-O-R-S-E, you probably know means that it is more bad. Okay, when we say something is worse, we say it's bad, worse, and worst. And worst, W-O-R-S-T, is what we would call the superlative. It's the most bad. So when we say something is worse, that's like saying something is more bad, but we don't say more bad, we say worse. To say you are worse off means you are going to be in a worse situation. And it's often used to talk about a situation or something that's going to happen that is going to be bad for you, and it's going to be even worse for you. So I'm going to be worse off. Well, Chris says, anyway, he says, yeah, anyway, do you know where you're going to live next week? That use of anyway is very, very common in informal English, and usually it's used when you are going to change the subject. You want to talk about something else. Or you start talking about something and you talk about a different topic, and now you want to get back to the first topic you talked about. And it will be often used in informal conversation to change a topic. So Chris says anyway, meaning he wants to get back to the topic he was asking her about. Do you know where you're going to live next year? And Fiona says, I hadn't really given it much thought. To give something thought means, of course, to think about it. I haven't given it a lot of thought. I haven't thought about it very much. She says, why do you ask? And Chris says, well, I thought maybe you and I could share an apartment. If you don't mind moving a little further away from campus. To mind, M-I-N-D, means that it bothers you. So if you say to someone, if you don't mind, you're saying if it does not bother you, if it's okay with you. He wants to move further away from campus. He says that if they do, we could probably afford to have our own rooms. Fiona says, oh, well, I don't know if I want to move that far away. It would be fun, she says. It would be a good time to share an apartment in order to split the costs. And to split, S-P-L-I-T, means usually that you each take 50% for two people. I'll do half, you do half. You can also split something 3 ways or 4 ways. So if there are 4 people and you split it 4 ways, each person pays 25%. Chris says, well, that's what I'm thinking. Or we could find a couple more roommates in order to afford something near campus. To afford, AFFORD, means to have enough money to be able to buy something, or in this case, to be able to rent something. Chris says, if you could find another girl and I could find another guy to share a room with, we'd be set. So Chris is saying, well, you find a friend and I'll find a friend, and then we'll have 4 people to share the apartment. He says, we'll be set. To be set, S-E-T, means that we will be prepared, we will be ready, that the situation or problem will be solved. Fiona says, maybe, can I think about it and let you know? Meaning, can I tell you later? And Chris says, of course, take your time, meaning don't hurry. Take as much time to think about it as you need. He says, we have a while. I just wanted to start apartment hunting early so we could find something good. To go apartment hunting, Hunting, means to go looking for an apartment. We use that word hunting often to mean to look for. I'm hunting for a new coat. Means I'm going out and I'm going to find or try to find a new coat. Fiona says at the end, sounds like a plan. That's an informal expression, especially among younger speakers of English, college students. When someone says, sounds like a plan, or it sounds like a plan, or that sounds like a plan, means that you are agreeing with the plan, that you are agreeing with what the other person is saying. Okay, that sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Usually if you are talking about what you are going to do in the future. She says, I'll let you know as soon as I make a decision. Now let's listen to the dialogue, this time at a native rate of speech.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Fiona. Thanks for meeting me here on such short notice. The thing is, I needed to ask you something, and I thought sooner was better than later.
No problem. It worked out that we're both on campus. What's the question?
Well, I was thinking about how we have to move out of the dorms next year.
Yeah, I know. No more dining halls. I'm just excited about getting away from that lousy food. But of course that means I'm going to have to cook for myself. So I'll probably be worse off.
Yeah. Anyway, do you know where you're going to live next year?
I hadn't really given it much thought. Why do you ask?
Well, I thought maybe you and I could share an apartment. If you don't mind moving a little further away from campus, we could probably afford to have our own rooms.
Oh, well, I don't know if I want to move far away. It would be fun to share an apartment, though, in order to split the costs.
That's what I'm thinking. Or we could find a couple more roommates in order to afford something near campus. If you could find another girl and I could find another guy to share a room with, we'd be set.
Maybe. Can I think about it and let you know?
Of course, take your time. We have a while. I just wanted to start apartment hunting early so we could find something good.
Sounds like a plan. I'll let you know as soon as I make a decision.
Now let's ask a comprehension question. Chris wants Fiona to share an apartment with him next year because A, he wants to stay close to campus. B, he's a great cook. C, he wants to save money. Or D, he wants to move out of his house. The correct answer is C, he wants to save money. In the dialogue, we heard that Chris suggests to Fiona that they move a little farther away from campus. And when Fiona says she doesn't like that idea, he says that, well, maybe we could afford something nearer to campus if we get a couple of more roommates. However, his main reason for asking Fiona is not to stay close to the campus, because he originally suggests that they live farther away. Answer B is also incorrect, because he's a great cook. Well, Chris doesn't say anything about being a good cook. Fiona says that she's not a good cook. However, we don't know what kind of cook Chris is. C, he wants to save money, is the correct answer. He says that he wants to be able to split the costs. Fiona says that they can split the cost if they share an apartment. And he's hoping that they could afford their own rooms. So again, he's looking to not spend as much money. Letter D, he needs to, or rather wants to, move out of his house, is incorrect, because the dialogue says that they are living in dormitories, not in a house. If you want more information about our podcast, be sure to go to our website at TOEFLPod, that's TOEFLPod.com. You'll also want to listen to our regular podcast 3 times a week, the English as a Second Language podcast. And to do that, go to ESLPod.com. From Los Angeles, California, I'm Jeff McQuillan. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the TOEFL Podcast. The TOEFL Podcast is written and produced by Dr. Lucy Say. Your host is Dr. Jeff McQuillan. This podcast is copyright 2006 by the Center for Educational Development. TOEFL is a registered trademark of the Educational Testing Service, which does not endorse and was not involved in the production of this podcast.